Hello everyone and welcome to the Zcast. This is post week 8.
Get on with it.
I hate you so
Come on,
much.
get on with it. Hurry up.
I am joined by Squee913.
Lies! Lies!
And the first match is is Derp versus Margins. Can you hear something, Squee?
No.
I'm not sure if it's
Some cat or something?
well, it's not my cat. I don't have a
Yowling in the
cat.
background?
It's the Skype cat. It's Skype when it's listening in. Can you imagine if it was just Skype cat listening into all the conversations?
Is that a thing? Is Skype cat a thing now?
It is now. That's right. Hashtag Skype cat.
Also,
Anyway,
if you ever say hashtag again,
I know. It felt weird. It felt weird saying it.
wrong, doesn't it?
I think it
does.
feels wrong for anyone from Britain to say hashtag anything.
Yeah.
Hashtag Skype cat.
It sort of fits with the American accent. It just doesn't work with us.
No. Yeah. Anyway, how has your 2 weeks been, guys?
I'm alive!
Excellent news, Rebel.
It took a really long time to get through.
And on that note, we shall start going over last week's matches. The first of which was Derp versus Margins.
Yeah.
Margins were victor.
So that style of the strong thing's a really good guitar.
God, take it
it's
off, take it off,
amazing.
take it off.
Yeah,
Take it off. It's hurting me. It's hurting me to see it.
Yeah, it's pretty clear that
All
you
of
should
them
probably work on that.
A little bit.
I'd hate to see Squee try and be subtle.
I thought I was. No, yeah, I think you guys should finally look at Supreme Kai and say, the theory is sound, I get it, but he's just not throwing out the ultimates.
Yeah.
Maybe in the off season you can do a crap load of AI tests, find an AI who actually will do it consistently, like he used to back in season 2, and then think about style of strong again. But otherwise, right now you're just wasting 4 points.
Yeah, I agree.
And there's so much more you can put on. Don't
4
make him a
points is a
B2 character
lot.
either.
Like 4 points is more than half your build.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Let's have a look at this B2. Obviously, all the stats again we're using are not including Week 8's matches because stats people are slow. Let me have a look. B2's connected, 47%. Supreme Kai. He's the worst on the
Isn't
team.
there a specific one for Ultimates?
Ultimates, that's 40.
So
He's
how
hit
many
with
has he
2.
fired though this season?
He's fired 5
This
hit
season.
2.
In 8 weeks,
in
he's
7
fired
weeks.
5. Yeah, sorry. In 7 weeks, he's fired 5 ultimates. Not really style of the strong worthy.
No, that's not Bardock. That's not Bojack.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hang on, let me take a look at just to get a benchmark. Bardock's fired off 11
In 7
ultimates.
weeks. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
What about
That's style
Bojack?
of strong. Bojack. That was. Well, hang on, where is Bojack? I've lost him. There's so many
How
names.
can you not find Team Muscle?
Good God, there's like
Bojack.
80
In any
people in this league. Like, who put
There's-
so many people?
Whose stupid idea was this?
Goddamn
Bojack
Squee.
has fired off. Bojack has fired off 11 ultimates.
Right.
Wow, what symmetry there. Bojack
I
and
know.
it's like they're in a competition.
Oh God, don't start that. But yeah, don't put him on. I mean, Supreme Kai has fired off more ultimates than anyone else on Derp. Fair enough.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
he's hit. Doria's hit with more than Supreme Kai. It just Garrett's style is strong. He's scared of it.
Actually, Dodoria hasn't missed with a single ultimate this season, but that's still not really.
Yeah.
Hey, listen,
Don't put style of the strong in Dodoria.
No, this is the best plan.
It's foolproof. It's foolproof.
Yeah.
Anyway, Margins, solid performance. At some points, I actually thought they were going to struggle a bit to win it, but they managed to pull out fairly significantly.
They put up a bit of a fight in the middle, but yeah, it's the margins.
Yeah,
A bit of a fight generally doesn't help much.
Even this is another one of the words British people can't say. Bobbity.
Yeah, it's
Barbody.
impossible.
baby.
Yeah, we don't have the accent for it, and HK, if you do the accent, you are not you're not my friend anymore.
You said
you can retire.
Retire to an island in the middle of nowhere.
Yes.
You said doo-doo.
But even with that character,
Even with that
they
one,
managed. They had a strong performance. I don't really know what else. Oh God, Deborah only just done 36,000 points of damage average up until week 8.
Wow.
Yeah, Deborah's been seriously unimpressive. I mean,
yeah,
it's
true.
It's not been good.
Where are all his what's his blast? The
Evil.
Thank
Evil
you,
Impulse.
evil something. Yeah, evil
Yeah.
impulse. He used to throw those out like hotcakes. Not anymore.
He's sick of it
Yeah.
now. It's too much effort.
It's so
He's
last
getting old.
spring.
He's getting old, you know. Well,
He should work the other, muscles.
absolutely.
Not that-
Deborah over his entire
muscles too
over
far.
the first 7 weeks fired 11 B2s.
Yeah,
Yes, he
that's
has,
not.
It
That's
was
great for
5.
ultimates, but not for B2s.
Yeah.
When you look at the
He's
other
actually
people on his
fired
team,
3
like
ultimates and hit with 2.
when you look at other people on his team, like Majup, who's fired 44.
Yeah, I was about to say.
And actually has the best hit rate of the team so far.
I know. Oh, Majub.
I
Imagine
think
that's awesome.
he's fired off more than double the second highest, or nearly more than double the second highest person for B2s. Jesus. Anyway, yeah. Margins, you're doing well. They're doing well, but they're in a tough
alright.
division. They're in a
They
tough
are in a tough
division.
division.
But that
Well, I
one was
don't know. There's
definitely
the Earth Defenders in there. It's not completely tough.
Well,
It's,
yeah,
it's
that's,
true. It's so wait.
Cool. Wait a minute. Facts. Must get them. The next match, Muscle versus Cold. Muscle won that with ease.
Hell, cold.
That was. Oof, I felt.
I'm just
painful.
starting to feel bad for Cold. It's not like they're not trying. And I do have to point out, Rebel, the one of the theories you put forth that they fell into the same road as last season and just are sticking with it isn't true. They've been trying to evolve and change their builds all season. It's just something else is the problem. It might be that they're trying to evolve and change their builds too much. I mean, it might actually have swung in the other direction, but it's certainly not that they have the same build they had last season and written with that. So that theory's out the window. I don't know. They just poor
I'm
Cold.
not convinced, actually.
You can look at their builds.
I am looking at their builds.
Yeah, they're not the same as last season. Therefore, not the same as last season.
It's very tricky for Rebel to admit if he's wrong.
No, I'm not suggesting that they're exactly the same as last season. What I'm saying is, Frieza has been on Frieza AI up until, well, what was it last week? Yeah, Jirobe AI last week. He's been on Frieza AI pretty much constantly since then, and the build. I've said this before. The build doesn't matter if your AI isn't doing what you want it to do.
Right,
So either
but
the build needs
it's
to change,
not. But
or the AI needs to change.
right, but it's not Frieza is the only one that's causing them to lose all their fights, and the AIs for the other characters have changed substantially since last season. So that could be part of it, but that can't be the reason why they're losing. It might be a contributing factor, but Frieza is not the only one that's been sucking.
Mecha Frieza's been on either TNAI or Frieza AI for most of the both seasons. He recently had. When did he have Vegeta AI at any point recently? I'm not sure. I'm forgetting.
How
So
can you forget
it's not. It's not been right. It's not been constant 100% exactly the same. That's silly, but it's not been. The changes that a lot of the time you need to make to get players, and the changes that I initially made to someone like Frieza to get them to function properly were pretty drastic, given the player.
True.
And it made a big impact and had a big and it made a big difference. What I'm saying is that it's given the performances are getting to a point where they're comparable to how they used to be, that kind of drastic change might be required again.
Now that I will completely agree with. My only argument is that I think that there's enough change to throw doubt on the idea that they're just falling into a trap. But don't get me wrong, I definitely think something drastic needs to start taking place on Team Cold.
I would mention this here. I think there's a question for the Zcast for the Zcast later
Oh,
on.
all right, then we can
addressing
save
the
it for
point
then.
that I want to
Yeah.
I'll want to address, and I'll put that there. So
It's very, very organised.
Yeah!
I feel a bit.
no, just part of it is I want to
A rebel
my thoughts
psychic
better.
now. He's like, I feel there's a question coming later. But yes, no, I will say we are in complete agreement that they are, no matter what, they're playing it too safe with the builds when you are not doing. I mean, when you're 1 and 7.
Yeah, the chances of right now, if you think about it, the chances of Team One, Team Cold, Team One,
Team 1.
whatever,
Team number 1.
of Team Cold actually, it's pretty much impossible, nearly at this point, that they make it to the top spot.
Yeah,
Two
the
more
top spot
weeks and
definitely.
Super
They
Saiyan
could
win.
still fight for the playoffs, but the
They can
thing
fight
is,
for the
even
playoffs, but
that's
you're up
quickly.
against two amazing teams,
Yeah.
potentially.
And-
Well, not
and-
from win-loss records, but you know.
And the truth is, I mean, even their chances of going to the playoffs are still there, but they are quickly losing them.
Yeah, and they need to do something horrifically drastic.
I mean, Majins won last week. They lost, which means they're now, I think, 2 games behind?
Booze and Gohans
So-
are both at 3 and 5. They're at 1 and 7, so yeah, 2 games behind.
Yeah, so both of them are 2 games behind. I mean, I mean, you think, well, that's only 2 games, but you got to think they got to lose 2 games. Cold's got to win 2 games, and they've only got 7 weeks left.
And then in order
And that's
to be
just a
certain of
tie.
that position, they've got to win 3. Yeah.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, the playoffs are already starting to be a problem for them. Hey, on the bright side, if they lose a few more, then they can just use the rest of the season as a giant testing center. But quite honestly, with the stats they already have, I wouldn't say it's a bad idea to just go ahead and start using it as a giant testing center. You may not win, but hey, you never know.
No, you might hit gold. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially if you sit down and think, really hard about it. But yeah.
I think the match was, I mean, a lot of it, especially this specific match. Throughout the season there's been clear problems, but this particular match, they suffered a lot from AI derping in general.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's so unfortunate for it to happen to Cold, because they need at least. But Cooler just got on the field, okay, who is going to hit me with more damage, guys? That's the competition.
That
They have
was
to kill me as quick as
Competition,
possible.
Cooler the punchback.
That was hilarious and sad.
Yeah.
Because it was amazing, but oh, poor Cooler. And Cooler's Cooler is like the one guy on their team that's just been consistently decent this whole season.
Right,
So to
can I
see
just-
him
can I
get
just- can I
destroyed
just
like
say-
that.
Can I just say,
Mm-hmm.
one of their best players is Metacooler.
Oh my god.
Like, Metacooler is actually doing
Third.
well compared to the rest of the team.
I know, it's... Oh.
King Cold, you're letting the family down. 32,000.
Yeah, Pops, you really suck.
Dad.
Pops. Seriously.
Anyway, Muscle. A solid performance. Like I said, it was the win. I would say, not to take it away from Muscle, but the win was hugely down to Cold's AI derping.
Yeah.
But it was still a solid performance from Muscle.
And yeah, it was nice for them to. It was certainly nice for them to get the victory, regardless of where it comes from. Given the division they're in, they cannot afford to say, "Well, shit." I'd rather not have gotten that win because it felt a bit sour. No, just take the fucking win.
Yes. Yes.
But I don't know. I'm not. I would have preferred to have seen that sort of Muscle performance go up against a team that was on form and actually performing.
Muscle's got those in the next few weeks. To be
Yeah.
fair, they've got some tough matches in the next few weeks. So they needed that win definitely.
Matches aren't going to be great.
But so far, there seems to be solid improvement. I mean, at the beginning of the season, they were struggling a little bit, and we were saying, "You need to man up," and they seem to have done so. So I'm pretty happy with them for that. Good job.
Oh yeah,
There's
certainly been more changes. It's gone well for them.
It's definitely a huge improvement over last season, and it's only, like we said, halfway through the season that we could just see them continue to rise up back towards the top.
Oh, good.
Well, not too far.
No, it's fine. Just hammer away at that ceiling, Muscle.
Shh.
Raise
The
it
next
so
match.
the Super Saiyans can't reach.
So what? No, what? Don't. The next match is Earth Defenders versus Saiyans.
That is really impressive.
It was awesome.
It was a good battle. Retribution.
Yeah, it was a good match. A little bit of retribution. What I'm stoked for is that, at least for the past few weeks, it seems like every change we have implemented on them has turned out really well. It's been like basically because I mean Earth Defenders were kind of not in the same but close to the same position Cold was a few weeks ago. We were really bad off. I think we were like 1-4 or something like that, and it was really bad. And so we sat down. We're like, okay, we need Team Cold, take notes. We need change. This is not working. What can we do? And we sat there and we talked about what our team can do and what they can't do. Because you don't have during the season you can't do tests. You can't just throw a bunch of tests out there and say what works. But you can look at what your team's good at and make educated guesses based off of that. And we made several changes. We made several changes to Goku. How we run him, changes to Tien, how we run him, changes to Yamcha, changes. I mean, it literally changes everyone. Now we've even made changes to Krillin, and it seems like every single one of them has been for the better. So it's such a good feeling to know that these choices and decisions you're making as a team are actually really panning out.
Yeah, and I think it says an awful lot to something I've been saying an awful lot, is that you, rather than just going into test and saying let's see what this does, actually sitting down and thinking about your team is probably more valuable. And it's, as I said, it's obviously paid dividends for the defenders.
You're on a 3-match win streak.
I know. Worried though, a little worried though, because if you look at the rest of our season, it is going to be a tough road.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get to that in a minute, but I see what you mean. Yeah, Saiyans, they weren't trash. They didn't suffer cold syndrome, but they definitely didn't perform their best.
No, they're not the Saiyans we're used to.
Right.
No.
Or the Saiyans that we've come to expect, I would rather say.
I'm not going to lie, I was kind of hoping Scout of Vegeta would take out 4 characters again.
Listen, in all honesty, I was really hoping for that.
I think everyone was. I mean, because it's fun to watch. And in that case, I would have been, and I said it during the match too, in a situation like that where it's not like everything's on the line, even I would have enjoyed it. Because on a certain level, it's just fun.
Hilarious.
Yeah, it was just that it was the playoffs and everything was on the line. Yeah, but no. For a regular season match, even I would have been like, that was awesome. I'm just glad I didn't have to sit there and say that was awesome.
Saiyans are probably I would say divisionally, one of the most annoying spots in the
They're probably
league.
one of the most difficult spots. Yeah, I think they're almost less likely than Cold.
Yeah,
certainly
exactly.
Equally unlikely as Cold to actually get into the playoffs.
They're the second least damaging team pre-week 8, and week 8 isn't going to help that rating.
No, it's not.
I mean, the only team they're better than is the Ginyu Force, which is a bit telling.
They're also 3 and 5.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe I'm just looking at their characters here. King Vegeta and Nappa. They're just 28,000 each. Average damage the entire season.
Yeah, only 100 points of damage between them.
It's pretty clear.
That means you are typically averaging less than 3 bars of health per match.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, we slam players that do like 35.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that'd be great. That'd be great if it's
slamming people that did 40k. To be honest with you,
that'd be great if it's your closer and he almost never has to step on the field. But that's not.
That's your
the
whole.
case.
That's most of your team. That's the base of your team. Certainly King Vegeta.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he was really good, but he was really good.
Vegeta was awesome last season. I don't know
Yeah.
what the fuck happened. Like he has moments. He has moments of brilliance, but
He's getting old.
yeah.
It's not easy being king, guys.
Enough
But
for this.
yeah, Saiyans, you've got to start having a little look at your team. I would say start drifting towards that. Okay, do we need to change anything radically? And just start thinking about getting into that mind frame. Because in a division you're in, you're going to need it, even though you're not doing as bad as say Derp or Cold.
Even Bardock, who has his moments of being fucking scary. You guys rely on that just initial burst of damage an awful lot, and that's pretty fucking dangerous.
Yes.
Well, if we like the highest combo for the whole season for Saiyans, you can see like 7,000, 7,000, 9,000, 20,000 for Bardock.
Yeah.
And then you got 47,000 average per match. So yeah, half the damage is coming from the initial thing. I don't really know what I was going to go on to say there. My mind just went
Probably
blank. I'm blaming you two. Just saying.
Well, they were going up against the Earth to finish, so I'm not really sure you can
Chiaotzu.
really blame them. I know, he was awesome!
Anyway, the next match. Namek versus Super Saiyans. Do I need to say who won? Or was it not obvious?
That was very disappointing. I was hoping for a really good match.
So was I. It was fantastic.
I think it proved a really interesting point, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
That when you sit down and you look at a team, and you understand how a team works, and you understand your own strengths compared to that team, what you can actually do. Because Tambourine, don't get me wrong, Tambourine's a great player, but
right.
Tambourine relies on two things. He relies on keeping someone under pressure, constantly being in the face, taking him down, not giving them the opportunity to do anything major to him. And he relies on timing the Samusons.
Right.
He went up against Vegeta, who is a player that does that possibly better than any other in the entire league, and whose B2s are better. Yeah, he's just overall, they are more solid. The chances of Tambourine actually winning that were pretty low. And the problem is that once you come out of that, you're going up against a hugely powerful character in Vegeta. And the dynamics there's very little that answers that.
I think, that's all been made very clear after the match. You see what I mean? I wouldn't have said that about Tambourine before that match happened.
Do you not think?
No, I would have thought it would have been one of those beat each other to death matches.
Right. I probably would have thought the same too. But except for one thing too, that, and Piff talked about this in the stream, Vegeta had another thing going for him, which was his build. In that, one of the things that Tambourine relies on, in addition to what Rebel said, was his survivability. His defensive build allows him to stay on the field for so long. Because let's face it, Tambourine's not a quick damage dealer. He's a damage dealer over time. He uses his melee combos and his well-timed B2s, which are admittedly very weak B2s, to steadily decrease you, and he just outlasts you to the extreme. And exactly. But if you put a character out there that has the same kind of staying power, like Vegeta did, or another example from a few weeks ago was Krillin, who also was given a hugely defensive build, you will see them be able to last just as long as Tambourine did. And in that instance, you saw Krillin and Tambourine go toe-to-toe in a really long match, and he was able to keep up with Tambourine. Vegeta was different because of, like what Rebel said. Vegeta had the same survivability, but he really just beat Tambourine at his own game. He just did it better. But, even taking that aside, it's not like Tambourine's invincible. You can give a decent character a good defensive build, and if they are even a moderate character, and the damage over time starts to become less of an issue, you can start seeing weaknesses in Tambourine.
When we were discussing the build for Vegeta, I don't think anyone on the Super Saiyans expected that the build would do what we'd hoped, which is what ended up happening, which is, outlasting Tambourine and outplaying him. We were more hoping to just nullify him completely and pray Vegeta just gets the last blow him.
Yeah.
But especially after this week, it's clear what the weaknesses to that survivability build are.
It's been a thing that's building, and something that a lot of people forget is that, sometimes the counter to something is itself, and just doing it better.
Right. Like, this is a thing with the board game Go that I love. In the board game Go, which is a huge strategy game, many times the best move you can make is the best move your opponent could have made. That might not make sense, but yes, just like Rebel was saying, sometimes the best way to counter a melee fighter is a melee build. Sometimes the best way to counter a tank is a tank. And obviously, Vegeta had an advantage that a lot of teams may not have. They may not have someone that can play that close-up B2 game as well. But that doesn't mean that you still don't have weapons at your disposal that any team can utilize and look, we're not trying to give the key away to Tambourine, but we're just using this as an example that if you have an unbeatable roadblock, a Rayleigh, Tambourine, the champ, there are weaknesses that are there if you look for them.
The champ has no weakness.
I'm sorry, I was paid to say that.
Who pays you more than a champ?
Oh, people were loving that match, except for like one person who was like, "It's not funny." Like, I'm surrounded by a bunch of people that was like, "It's funny as hell."
You always get one, don't you?
Yeah, always one.
The sensible ones do what I do and just stay quiet.
I do that, to be fair. I do that. But, good news, Goku did damage.
Yeah, he actually did something.
Yeah, I know, right?
What
the hell did you threaten him with?
Now, we won't go into that. Anyway, the next match, Blades versus Rugrats. I knew the Rugrats were going to win. I knew it. Whenever I put my bet on Rugrats, they win.
Didn't I say they would win too?
Yeah.
Didn't I say they would win too?
No, you didn't.
Did I?
Oops. No.
I'm going to do that for every match.
Hang on a second, HTK. None of us said the Rugrats would win.
I said them. I said them. Yep.
You didn't.
You can go check the completely unedited Zcast of last week if you would like.
It's alright, you don't have the skill to edit that.
Wow. But that was a close match.
It was.
In all seriousness.
Super Saiyan 4.
Yeah, he pissed him off.
Yeah.
And yet again, Gotenks turning out to be an asset this season as opposed to a hindrance.
Yeah.
Not quite as impressive as he's been the past few weeks, but still a very strong performance from him, and helped them win the fight. So I think that I'm actually really pleased to see that Gotenks is finally starting to work.
Yeah, it's a nice change.
If we look at the team in general, they're not doing 5 and 3. Oh yeah, they are. They are. That's exactly what they're doing.
Oh, HTK, good job.
But they're doing 5 and 3 with a character on average does 18,000 points of damage a week.
Yeah.
Who are we talking about?
Chi-Chi.
Oh.
She's the closer, to be fair.
Well, except
That
for
might
that,
be part
except
of
for
the
that
problem.
match that never happened.
we won't talk about that. But it's very impressive to see how well they're doing, despite having a character who's doing that.
5 and 3 right now is one of the best records in the league.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, there's a lot of people with it, but it's still.
Yeah, it's definitely something you should be proud of. I mean, it puts them at second in South Kai. They are equal with the margins. The margins can't slip up, or the margins have to play, through the playoffs.
And it's made it so that no one can take your team lightly. Like, I mean, for example, Earth Defenders are facing them next week, and we're already in the forums going, all right, here's what we got to deal with. What do we do?
The thing with the Rugrats, I find, is it's really difficult to counter them. With their transformations, their tempo changes so much when the characters transform or fuse. It's really hard to counter that.
Yeah.
Unless you just do well all round.
And in addition, they've got the clash that you just have to almost assume you're not going to win those unless you really want to pump a bunch of points into it like they do.
Most teams would have to completely change up their builds in order to actually counter that.
So you almost have to go in there saying, all right, we're going to lose clashes. What else can we do?
Yeah, we just hope we don't get into them.
Yeah.
Blades... sorry, carry on.
No, you go.
Thank you.
Actually,
Blades, luckily...
I think we need to go on to the next one.
I hate you. The Blades... It was kind of unfortunate for the Blades because they could have gone top of Iskai, but now they're still tied with Namek because they both lost.
Yeah.
But to be honest, if I was the Blades, oh god, Rugrats are just the same as the Blades now. They're on the same level. This is so weird. I'm used to. I guess at the beginning of the season they weren't doing very well.
I didn't even realize that was a divisional match. Man, that makes it even more important.
Oh no! They're
not.
It's not divisional. No.
Okay.
They're just
You were comparing them to the Blades, so I was thinking, oh no, it's a divisional match.
No. They're both 5 and 3. That's what I meant. But I remember. I don't know why. I just had this image of them not doing very well at the beginning, and therefore not, you know.
Well,
doing
yeah,
well now.
I think it's true. I think the first 3 weeks, maybe not the first 3 weeks, but at least the first 4 weeks or so, that's when they got all their losses.
Mm. So, well done, congrats. Very
Yeah.
impressed. Blades, I mean, it's a loss, but luckily,
Well done,
thanks
HJK.
to,
That was a good statement of the obvious.
thanks to the Super Saiyans, who you can thank later, you are still in the running for top spots, and you know.
Oh, they are. They're still, they're still in a
We'll
strong
accept
position.
a letter of thanks in the mail. I am
I know
waiting.
that
though.
You're
They-
just
they
gonna
are still
get
in
you're
a
just gonna get
very
Cyborg Tao, and he's just gonna blast you in the face.
Hold on, Ray. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's gonna
I've
be
got
one
a
of those-
present
it's
for
gonna be
you.
one of Vegeta's off days. He's gonna miss with his punches, and Tao's just gonna rip you apart.
Wow.
Done.
Anyway, the next match: Guinea Force versus Dragon Ball Warriors, which Dragon Ball Warriors won.
My gosh, that was a really fun match.
Yeah.
Captain Ginyu was awesome.
Oh, fuck.
That
The
was-
best troll ever.
That must have been longer than that Androids versus Blades fight where
I
Yashiro
know.
and Cell were fighting.
It was amazing because it was just like we were saying, is that they couldn't hit Goku, couldn't hit Gohan, and Gohan couldn't do crap for damage.
Yeah.
It just went on and on and
Yeah.
on. As entertaining as it was, there was a little question in my mind who was in the lead there. It was the Ginyu Force was simply trying to buy themselves time,
Yeah.
Mm.
which is really sad. I don't quite grasp it. I know that the coach is new, so he's still learning the ropes, and that's probably a huge part of it. But the members on their team, Raccoon, Birder, and Jace should be enough to carry that team at least to mid levels.
Mm. Well, hang on. What's their rankings? They are at 3 and 5, so it could be worse. They're doing
could
as
be
well
worse,
as the
it's true.
Saiyans and
It
Androids.
could be worse. They could be Team Cold, but but they're not
That
far
would certainly be
behind.
worse.
They're now definitely firmly in the bottom of South Kai, but not out of winnable range. I mean, they can definitely claw their way back up to the.
It's only a couple of slip ups from the other teams in there, and they're
Right.
possibly even at the top.
Right, and don't get me wrong. I'm not suggesting that they're doing horribly. What I was saying was that I don't know what to tell them to do better. You know what I mean? I don't really. And obviously, if I sat down and analyzed it, I might. But it just seems to me like the builds don't seem that illogical. There's some mistakes here and there, but for the most part, it seems like you look at that build and you say that should work for Ginyu, but it's just not. Not as well as you wanted to.
The difficulty you have with that build for Ginyu is... Okay, here's the thing. Ginyu in and of himself is not a particularly bad character. If you ignore his ultimate, he's actually alright.
Right.
He's not brilliant, he's nothing particularly special. That build focuses on keeping him alive, which is fine. What you're looking at once he does his body change thing, though, is he's not going to do anything. Just at all. Because he has no B2s. So any source of damage is gone because he's got an attack negative. And anybody with any kind of defense plus, or even without that, you're already looking at attack negative from the transformation, and then another attack negative from the Patara, which is severely limiting. Like, that might even be a case of he can't stun properly anymore because he's doing so little damage. I'm not sure what the numbers are and how
I
that
do know
mechanic actually
that
works,
he
but-
did, in Gohan's form, he did do at least 15,000 points of damage overall over the course of
Right.
the match. So it is, I mean, it's weird to say this, but his ultimate is still, should be a medium to strong ultimate. It just takes forever to play out.
Yeah.
Like, if
The
you think of it,
longest
if you
cutscene.
think of it this way, he was almost dead, so all the damage he did in Gohan's form is part of his ultimate. And if he did at least 15 to 20,000, you can consider that a 15 or 20,000 point ultimate that just took forever.
No.
But
It's
yeah,
just,
no,
it's
I'm
just
with
that
you.
initial, an initial... The problem with that is that even with the defense up and the health regeneration, a damage burst is going to knock you out completely.
Yes, completely.
With a lack of indignation or serious or anything like that on him, the fact is that he can't take advantage of that extra health to give him, even if it resets indignation and all of those other things, even if it resets them, it doesn't matter because he's still got that extra life to go through where he has those, and a spurt of damage is not something he's going to be able to take advantage of with that build, and I think that's the problem with it.
I really think if they haven't tried it, they should try the. If you give Ginyu a fully melee build, not a tank build, but a complete as much melee damage as you can possibly throw out. First of all, let's face it, Ginyu's B2s are subpar. So, you probably shouldn't be working on his B2s anyway. You give him as much of an offensive melee build as possible. That way, his melee is okay, he'll do some considerable damage, and if he does do his ultimate, then you should be able to negate that buff with attack. And if you can find the right AI, basically, let's put it this way, if you could turn Ginyu into a Krillin or a Fasha, if that were possible, that you could turn him into a Krillin or a Fasha, and then he used his ultimate, let's put it this way. Let's say we gave Fasha that ultimate, and we just gave her 4 extra bars of health with to all the penalties Ginyu got. She'd still wreck face, because it's Fasha. That's what she does. She does melee. So if you could turn Ginyu into that kind of character, you might actually have something there. If you could counteract the melee debuff and give him an AI where he is constantly melee, just a thought, something to work on.
Not going to be. The problem with that is you kind of have to hope he does his ultimate to
Yeah,
really get the full thing.
The difficulty you have is melee build, melee AI, and ultimate can be mutually exclusive.
That's true. It's difficult to do. But here's the difference. Unlike Style of the Strong, where if you don't throw out your ultimate, it's completely useless, a full melee build will always be helpful whether he throws out the ultimate or not, especially considering that his B2s suck.
The only other thing you'd have to consider is that if you're going for a full melee build, you're already taking defense penalties, and then you're transforming.
That is true.
Taking more defense penalties. So
that is absolutely
you might
true.
be able to throw out tons of damage, but not only is he taking defense penalties twice, he's also taking an attack penalty. So yeah, it's definitely not. Like I said, what I told you is not the golden key to success. It is something to toss around and test out. And, eventually Ginyu also, if Earth Defenders keep doing well and Ginyu keeps doing bad for a few more weeks, this season's going to turn into one big testing ring for you. So, hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully you'll be able to claw back. But just, like I said, just something to keep in mind. Because the thing is, can you do it? I have no idea. But if you could, that would be something to see.
DB Warriors.
DB Warriors are DB Warriors.
DB Warriors. Solid performance, if a slightly long one, but a very necessary win.
Except for Goku. Dude, hit the guy.
Yeah, he's probably just toying with him.
See, this is why that match was so entertaining, because you couldn't hit crap.
Yeah.
No, it was an entertaining match. It was really, again, like I said, not really in question who was gonna win it. It was mostly just like how long can the Ginyu Force stand out now?
Yeah, pretty much, which is unfortunate, but.
No,
and their tags, they're bloody tags.
Yeah,
again,
they tagged 11 times in that match. 11. There was 11 tags. That's double figures.
I know.
It's crazy.
Now imagine if they'd been competent and made it to 12 tags. God.
Yeah. That would have been a game changer.
Keep going, DB Warriors.
Basically, guys, you're doing a good job.
The next match is Boo versus Gohans. Boo won, and a very important win for Boos here.
Yes,
yeah, otherwise they'd have been really fucking shafted.
Yes, in their division, yeah. They are now tied second with the Gohans at 3 and 5.
There indeed.
Same as Ginyu. Same score as Ginyu.
Hey Gohans, good job.
Oh, Gohans. Boo, though, they did really well, to be fair. That was a really good
well, you're seeing two opposites. You're seeing the Boos who had a horrible start to actually get their act together, and you're seeing the Gohans who had a fantastic start to break down a little bit.
Yeah. And the Boos performance, I'm enjoying this week because I get to say this phrase a lot. Is proving something I've said in the past. Is that the Boos are actually really fucking good, and that there aren't any actual weak members on that team. Thank you, Boos. I appreciate it.
When they want to not be weak.
Yeah, when they want to
you
not
missed
be
that bit
shit,
out.
No, I don't need to. the Super Saiyans, End Vegeta has weeks where he is fucking useless.
True.
No.
but for the most part, he's a good player. There's a
And
big
off the
difference
field, he is always fucking useless.
Yes, I mean, off the field, he's just shit.
We've heard him behind the scenes. Right here, the Zcast, that's right. Anyway. But yeah, Margin Boo actually showed up this week, which is fantastic. And he was fucking on fire with those Kamehamehas.
Yeah, he was.
He couldn't miss.
Yeah.
It's like he was hitting a mountain every single time.
Even with Master Strike.
Yeah, exactly. Wait, Master? Oh my god, really?
Yeah, I know, right?
Jesus. Okay. He just felt like playing this week. He doesn't like Gohan, clearly.
I can just imagine the Boo's team's like, but now
No.
you do it? Really?
What are you doing? Stop it. Go just fucking
It's like,
That's-
it's one of those moments where like you're glad that you're winning, but you're just so frustrated because that's not what you wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like what was it? We put Yamcha like Rush Blast once, and
Oh,
he didn't
God,
fire
that
out a
was so
single
funny.
Rush Blast that whole flippin' match.
That was
Valkyries
funny.
put Fasha to do throws. Fasha doesn't throw.
I mean, you think everyone does Rush Blast at some point? I mean, if you would ask me, is there ever been a match where someone has not thrown out a Rush Blast? I would have been like, no, they probably at least thrown out. Nope.
There we go. There's one on my team.
The one
Right
who
there.
needed them. Yeah.
Well, and Cooler because he wasn't on the field long enough. I'm so curious to see how much damage he did this week because it's going to be like.
Apparently, it was under half of that,
Yeah.
from what I understand.
Ouch. So, but yes, good job, the Boos.
Gohan's.
The Gohans, I don't know. I'm not too worried about the Gohans. They've had a few bad couple of weeks, but they're a strong team. They've got strong potential. I don't see this becoming a problem for them for the rest of the season. I mean, I'm not saying they're going to be shooting to the top of their division or that they're even safe from Team Cold. That's not true. But I don't think they're going to end this season with a horrible record. In fact, I would be surprised if they end the season with a losing record.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Okay, I'd agree with that. Even if I don't want to. Prefer if they stay where they are.
Doesn't matter.
Yes, it does.
Doesn't matter to you, for fuck's
It's so
sake.
important. We've got to focus on something.
So you're going to focus on someone else's team not being good.
That's right. That's how we do things at the Super Saiyans. The final match, Valkyries versus Androids. I didn't actually watch this match, so I don't know what happened. Yeah.
the Valkyries destroyed the androids, and what I loved about this match was like what I guess I get to do a Rebel, like what Rebel and I were talking about last week. The idea of looking at the specific team you're facing and planning for them specifically was all over the place in this match. Both teams were very seriously looking at their opponents and trying to kind of outguess what they were going to do. And the Vals just happened to do a better job. Basically, the Vals have two androids, so they were going to be in there to counter life throwers or life drainers. The androids knew this, and they knew that, typically speaking, the Vals in the past have started with one of the androids in an attempt to counter the life throwers, so they put out Ader, who isn't a life trainer. But then you see the Vals sitting there going, you know what, I bet that's exactly what he's going to do. We're going to throw out Fasha first. So, I mean, you see this back and forth of, you really can tell both teams were trying to prepare for their opponent. And it paid off dividends for the Valkyries. Not only did they do well, but all the tag outs seemed to go right in their favor. The second Cell came onto the ring, there was an android there, Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it seemed to play perfectly into the Valkyries' hands, and it showed. They were very dominating.
And is especially significant. Now they stay joint first in Westsky. So they didn't need that win. Androids 3 and 5. With Gohan's Boo and Ginyu and Saiyans. Not sure if they're really struggling or just having some hard matches.
Some hard matches and some difficult opposition.
Yeah, I think that their season's going to peter out a little bit as far as difficulty goes.
I do have a PM from the coach of the androids. On the topic of Week 8 and the androids losing to the Vals, I must say I am not too upset. If Cell had come out first, I really think the match would have been a lot more close. Unless Fasha was... Again, this is another word that British people can't say. Fasha was just as much Fasha as she was against 17 and 8. I can't say my team did well, because we didn't, but the Vals are really one of our hardest matches, not only because they are a very powerful team, but also with them having 2 android-type characters making our life draining a lot less powerful.
And the fashion, dear God, the fashion.
Shut up! I'm obviously going to take this match as a learning experience and put a few new ideas into the team for next week. Also, I would like to again thank Squee for helping me out when I was absent. To Rebel, I would like to say that the Terran Republic was always the worst faction. I think he meant best.
Fuck yourself.
He meant best. He meant best faction. Don't worry. He meant best.
No, wait, like, fucking admin CP right now.
He meant best. I swear.
This man is gone.
But
Bullshit.
but the tanks have siege mode.
What are you
Been
talking
nerfed
about?
into the fucking
Has it really?
grass.
See, I haven't actually played 2. I played the hell out of 1, but I've never played 2. So
Okay, I'm going to go on a little bit of planet side rant for just 5 seconds, okay?
1,
This is brilliant.
2.
We started getting absolutely slaughtered in every possible respect, okay? So you know what SOE decided to do? SOE turned around and went, you know what we're going to do? You know what we're going to do? These really fast, slightly lighter armored heavy tanks, well, they've got this awesome ability where they anchor into the ground and, you know, they get accuracy, rate of fire, bit of reload bonus. Really good. It's fucking expensive, but it's really, really good. You know, it's pretty solid. It's like problem of, you know, they get trashed because they can't move, but, you know, with a bit of planning and preparation and some decent support, they're pretty solid. You know, when they're sieging somewhere, they're quite effective. You know what we're going to do? We're going to halve its effectiveness. Get it up, guys. Just fuck you.
I thought we were talking about StarCraft.
Hilarious.
Which now I know both games actually have tanks that can go into siege mode, so that's good.
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
Grey, you bastard.
Oh dear. The Zcast, ladies and gentlemen.
Yay, it's all about Dragon Ball Z and PlanetSide 2 and StarCraft.
Is it 1 or 2?
On the subject of StarCraft.
Oh god.
I'm in your base, killing your dudes!
So now we shall pass over to Ronald the King, who will give us the rundown of the top 5 wins and derps of the week, as well as his personal notable match.
Greetings, fellow DBZ Leaguers. I'm Ronald the King, and here are the top 5 wins. Coming in at number 5 is Android 19. It isn't often that an Android is able to absorb a B2. Even though Android 19 only gains half a bar, Majub loses 2 bars of energy. It's always significant when an Android can take energy from his opponent. Coming in at number 4 is Yajirobe. Senzu beans restore the user to full health. Now aside from the blast stock issue, there is no negative twist to be had with this. Why would this not be on the list? It gave the blades a fighting chance. Coming in at number 3 is Chaozu, who shows the power of a good and strategic stun. He stuns Vegeta and then throws a rock at him. Beautiful. And in at number 2 is Goten of the Rugrats. After GT Goku tears through Janemba, he mysteriously tags out. What Janemba did not know was that Goten had something much worse than Goku had in store for him, as he unleashes an impressive melee combo and follows up with one of the more powerful ultimates in the league. And in the number 1 spot is the champ. But isn't he always in the number 1 spot in the DBZ League? Well, here demonstrates why this is the case, as he wins 2 clashes and follows up with his ultimate. All of this together delivered a whopping 26,000 points of damage, and that was without him even trying. It'd be scary to think what Hurt could do if he put his whole heart into an attack. So those were the top 5 wins. We are now going to take a couple of moments to honor the weirder moments in DBZ League. Here are the top 5 derps. Coming in at number 5 is Salza, whom is stunned, beaten, and embarrassed. As he is stunned, beaten, and embarrassed, Babidi decides to unleash an ultimate on him. In retaliation, Salza uses Spread Finger Beam. No, bad Salza. Spread Finger Beam is never the answer. Coming in at number 4 is Cooler, who really likes running into beams. not only does he run into Master Roshi's Kamehameha, he also runs into Bojack's Grand Smasher. Rush attacks can never beat beams, guys. Keep that in mind. Coming in at number 3 is Ultimate Gohan, whom decides to turn his back on Kid Buu. Just wow. You deserve that, Ultimate Gohan. You deserve that. Coming in at number 2 is Cell, whom thinks that not only can he life drain, he also thinks that he can grab an android. And even after all of this is said and all this is done, all this had transpired, he transformed. He absorbed Android 18, and she's still here? Coming in at number 1 is Goku, whom charges to max power, uses high tension, and spazzes out before going SS4. Beautiful. And those were the top 5 derps. So now for the notable match of the week. The notable match of the week is the match between the Boos and the Gohans. The Boos and the Gohans was a very, very interesting match because I actually predicted that the Gohans would win this match. Of course, they lost, but I assumed that players on the Gohans would isolate players on the Boos, and that the Gohans would overall overpower the Boos due to many different reasons, which I will get into right now. I thought that Kid Buu and Team Gohan would be a wash, as well as I thought that Evil Buu and Ultimate Gohan would be a wash. I thought that Majin Buu and Kid Gohan would also be a wash, but I thought that what would really be the turning point in this match would be Saiyaman versus Gohan Buu. I thought that Saiyaman would overpower Gohan Buu, because that's what we've seen from this season. I think that we've seen Saiyaman be a little bit stronger than we have seen Gohan Buu. The reason why my prediction was so faulty was mainly because of the performances of Kid Buu and Majin Buu, who both together completely wrecked the Boos altogether. In the end, my prediction was wrong, and the Gohans lost. What do you guys think? Should this be the notable match of the week? Take it away, guys.
Okay, so now we will go to the divisional rankings for this week. In North Kai, the Super Saiyans are still on top at 7-1, followed by the Gohans tied with Buu at 3-5, and Cold last at 1-7. I don't want to speak too soon because I am the coach of the Super Saiyans, but I think we are safe for a playoff position.
Look, I'd be careful if I were you, because you look at Cold, if you just switch those numbers around, tie.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm not going to ever.
That's all you got to do. It's all you got to do is just one little switch and tie. So I'd be worried if I were you.
I'm not going to obviously go by that mentality.
I don't know exactly what it would take to do that. You know.
Well, you know, there's a wonderful edit button, and you know, nobody needs to know. I mean,
I swear to God, though, if we do lose 7 matches in a row, I'm coming after you. East Kai.
Hey, Squee, take this memory card.
Namek and Blades are tied at 5-3 on top of the division. Androids are 3-5, and Derp are in last at 2-6. Close division, not one that's not so close. I don't know if Derp will be able to get to a playoff spot. It'll be tricky, but I mean it's possible. I mean there's no way it's out of the question yet.
Yeah, they need to tighten up their team, but yeah.
West Kai, Dragon Ball Warriors, Muscle and Valkyries are still tied at 5-3, and Saiyans are at the bottom with 3-5. They kind of left out. Poor Saiyans.
Yeah, they've just been shunned a bit.
South Kai, Margins and Rugrats are tied at 5-3. Earth Defenders are at 4-4, and Ginyu at 3-5.
We've got an
Congratulations
even
to West Kai
record.
for being the best division so far.
I know, right? Congrats to North Kai for being the only division with only one team with a winning record.
Good job, guys. Carry on.
God damn it, North Kai, what the fuck?
Every season.
It's the pressure. Some teams just can't handle the pressure. You can't handle the pressure. Anyway.
Well, you know what it is? The Super Saiyans are just like slipping things into their drink, messing with their calendars, you know, just making things all that little bit more difficult.
Can you imagine like regular divisional meetings between teams? That would be a sight. We'll now hop on over to Ronald the King once again, who will provide us with some interesting stat changes for this week, as well as a coach interview with a mystery coach.
Alright guys, so we've got some interesting stat changes for this week. Okay, so let's start out with the negatives. One outstanding stat is King Piccolo, who dropped 17 spots in the rankings last week. At an average 37,000 damage every week, the Nameks can't be too happy. The next negative stat change is Ultimate Gohan, who also dropped down 17 spots in the rankings. Now, I don't put too much faith behind this number because the likely reason for this drop was the fact that he was facing Kid Buu, whom is second in the rankings. And the final negative stat change is Cooler, who had an absolutely morbid performance. It looked like he almost did this on purpose. It would be interesting to see his raw damage done for this week. Okay, so on to the positive stat changes. Our first positive stat change is Kid Goku, who made a 16 rank rise last week. Keep in mind that this is mostly due to the fact that he had a Ginyu dummy to punch around. And our next stat change is by mid-level Goku of the Earth Defenders. He had a 21 rank rise that puts him in now at 42. Not too bad for a previous problem child, eh? And the final stat change is by General Tao, who had a 28 stat rank change for the better. General Tao was recently tossed away by the Blades, but is looking like he'll do mighty fine for the Dragon Ball Warriors. So that was the rank changes segment. So this week's coach interview goes to the coach of the Dragon Ball Warriors. Enjoy, guys. Hey Vin, how you doing?
Hey Ronald, I'm well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing good. So that was a pretty good snag you got last week with the Dragon Ball Warriors. What do you really put as the reason for your victory?
It has to be Tao. Anybody could take a look at that match, could see it and say Tao is the one who won it for us. This is the first time we've had an elite person on our team. We're very happy for it, but Tao is definitely the reason that we came away with victory in that match.
Oh, right. I agree. I completely agree. If there's anyone else on the coaching staff or supporting coaches, who do you think could really get a little bit of credit and a little bit of credit to the recent success of the Dragon Ball Warriors?
Well, Ron, I'm actually really glad that you asked that. I do actually want to take a moment to give a nice personal shout-out to a friend of mine who is not just a friend on the forum, but is someone who I actually have a relationship with in the real life. He goes by XSifSpawnX on the forum. We've actually known each other since grade school. We're very good friends. And he's basically a genius. Wins just about every strategy game he ever plays. And he's been kind enough to support me as I became coach for the Dragon Ball Warriors. And he has a lot of great logical suggestions that we usually get to implement on the team, including trying Eternal Life on Tao. I had never thought of it. You know, I was scared to try it. And he said, you know what, let's do that. I think it'd be really good. And he went out there and he looked awesome. So big shout out to my friend there for helping me out so much with this team and for being a great collaborator.
Just to put this in perspective, when did both of you get in charge of the Dragon Ball Warriors? When did each of you get to really run the show?
Well, at the end of Season 3, the original coach of Dragon Ball Warriors unfortunately decided he would not be able to put in the time and effort needed to keep building the team properly. And something similar happened for Team Derp. So at that time, both teams were open and needed a coach, so the staff decided to have auditions. So people were asked to go ahead and put up builds for the characters that were on the teams at that time. The best builds would be decided by the staff, and they got to be on there. I went ahead and made builds of my own without any support at that time and got really, really lucky and got to become the coach. So I was very grateful for that opportunity. SifSpawn was actually rooting for Earth Defenders, had joined their team, but because we are personal friends, we've known each other for several years, I went ahead and I contacted him personally, asked him to join. He was kind enough to agree and come over and support me, so we both actually started up literally a week before the preseason started for season 4, I'm pretty sure, and started going crazy trying to get the team ready.
Yeah, well, and a great job you did, because a couple years ago, I don't think that any of us would even see the Dragon Ball Warriors doing something like this. I don't think anyone could see something like this happening.
I'd agree, and thank you for that compliment. We really appreciate that.
How was that? And any thoughts on Captain Ginyu's transformation last?
Oh my gosh, Captain Ginyu. Oh, I mean, kudos to Beowulf, the coach of Ginyu, for getting his team together so fast. I remember how scary it was last season being a coach, and I mean, I had Suspon to help me out. I know that Beowulf was going there for a while all by himself, so that's rough in the first place. But he did great with Ginyu. I know that Ginyu only really got to do some of that, picking, little slapping damage, but in the end, I think for the stats, Burn Raider and his team clocked him in at like 65,000 damage against my team, and that's pretty impressive, and Goku couldn't touch him. No matter how hard Goku tried, until, of course, he decided to do 2 ultimates, which I'm happy to see that happen every day. But yeah, no, Ginyu was a very impressive team. Jace came in, tore apart Grandpa Gohan. That was also really impressive. It's like I said earlier, we just got lucky that Tao was there, that he has sustainability, and he was able to come in and kind of save our butts there.
Yeah. Seeing Tao's recent development, would you say that we might have a new top Dragon Ball player on our team?
Oh, I was worried you'd ask me this question because that's really good because until now, Nam had been our top scorer. He had the most damage out of anyone on the team. Eternal Life might have accounted for that, his ability to survive longer than everyone else, and the fact that we were starting him so frequently. But with Tao, that's the thing, we always seen that Tao was good too. He has his Dodon Ray. It's a 2-bar move, does 6,000 almost every single time. It's very easy, very cost-effective. Really difficult question to answer. At this time, I would say they were the closest competition, but Tao may start to edge out Nam, especially if we decide to continue to give him Eternal Life.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Most definitely. And I don't know. You guys are pretty popular with using the Clash Bataras, aren't you?
Actually, no. Here's the thing that we noticed, and this goes all the way back to Season 3. We knew that Clash Bataras could be very, very useful. And we tried them, and unfortunately, because of the lower stats that Dragon Ball Warriors have in general for, their attack, their defense, their B2s, we are guessing that the same rule applies for clash rates, because very rarely do we win clashes, even when we use Bataras. So we have sort of moved away from trying to use them, because we know that we could fill up the slots with other things that could be helping us on a consistent basis, like the healing Bataras or something that'll help charge our B2s.
That makes sense to me, actually. It makes sense also because you need to work on those stats. And the Dragon Ball Warriors, if you look at their movesets are actually very, very good movesets. So if you can boost the B2s of those special movesets, or the absolute nimbility, is nimbility even a word, of each of the characters.
Yeah, I mean, that is something that we try and focus on, especially because we don't have some of the max power B2s that people have. We don't really have stunning B2s. We just have things that are going to improve our players or give them a slight status change. Like we have 3 people with an after image ability. So, oh no, I'm sorry, everybody but Pilaf has that actually. So 4 of 5 players have some kind of after image ability. So we try to make use of things like that, or we try to make use of their already cost-effective B2s, which I guess is one of the nice things about having Dragon Ball level characters. Most of their B2s don't go over 3 bars, so it's pretty easy to get those off and be very effective with them.
And what kind of build do you use on Pilaf? That's always been something that I kind of think about. Because, yeah, go ahead.
No, that's a really good question. Pilaf was uncharted territory for us. Season 4, we had early Goku. He derped hardcore, so we dropped him. I know that's horrible to say, especially if we want to treat him like people, but he was costing us matches, so we need to find a replacement. We had looked at Pilaf during the beginning of Season 4. We had liked some things that we saw. We just were uncertain, so we said, let's give him another shot. We tried some experiments with different AI, and we liked it. But like you said, the build was a weird thing. We had never had an Android before. So we actually went ahead and we did something that the Zcast keeps talking about, looking at your opponents and seeing what they do and how they build. So we looked at 18. We looked at Rayleigh, Android 17, Giro, people like that to see how they do so well and how they can spam. And so we noticed that things like high tension and tension up were used a lot, and that even things like Fighting Spirit could help. So knowing the fact that an Android won't just sit there and charge, but he'll do it while he's hitting something or even while he's just flying around, we decided that would be the best route to go, is to go ahead and mimic them and try it out. Actually, Syspawn was the one who got to try it out first because Pilaf was on his minor league team during Season 3? Yes, Season 3, I believe, is when he had them. And he tried it out. Pilaf was doing pretty good, and so we just found a good way to make him into a B2 spammer, and here we are, and he's now actually a pretty good player for us too. Not as good as Non-Mortal, but doing pretty good.
Have you thought about trying Devilman?
Yes, actually. Really glad that you asked that question. I do watch the minor leagues. I try to keep track of it. I was actually really, really tempted watching him with FCD last season, and yet again, I fall back to Syspawn, but he's using Devilman right now for Justice League, and his fork attack, when he throws out his fork, it really sucks because it can't clash with anything, so if somebody throws out a beam, it gets destroyed and he gets hit. That sucks. However, he has a tracking B2 where even if his enemy is, flying around or something, he'll follow them and he can hit them, and that thing does like 10,000 damage on its lonesome without any Pataras. So he's very tempting for that reason, especially since Spawn has found a way to make him do more and more. Plus, everybody knows the Devilmite Beam, the ultimate weapon against any evil team like a team called Machins, guys like that. So he's very tempting to us. We actually almost had him for Season 4. We tested him during the entire preseason and then got rid of him when the Blades dropped General Tao. We actually ended up picking him instead. And I mean, obviously that was a good acquisition, but no, we are considering Devilman, so we actually like to try and keep all of our options open.
Anyone that you're thinking about dropping?
We are thinking of dropping not because we dislike how fighters are performing, but we've noticed that certain fighters need certain Pataras, and if all 3 or 4 of those fighters are on the roster for the week, we start running out of Pataras, which means that then our team starts falling behind. So unfortunately, unless we can find a way to build some of these fighters differently and still make them successful, we may have to drop someone just so we can look into someone different, like maybe going back to early Goku or going to Devilman, so that we can have a different build and still be successful with everyone. It's a very interesting and delicate balance game. It's something that we're considering. We're moving pretty slow on it. Hopefully there's enough of a gap between the end of the regular season and the startup of Season 6 that we can have a long and really in-depth conversation about it to figure out what we're going to do.
True. If you did go to early Goku, though, I'd be very surprised if you could actually make a good build for him. But I think that one of the ways that you could do that is to try out a different AI with a melee build. That might work, actually, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Not quite sure.
No, I would definitely agree with you. It is actually something that we had considered. As we look at these options, we especially, we take the Zcast very seriously. We know that those guys have been doing this for a while, so we listen to their advice quite frequently. And he would definitely be one of those characters where it's like, well, I've tried everything and he still doesn't work. Well, try a melee. He always has to do some melee. It's definitely something that we've considered trying out on him.
Mm-hmm. That's for sure, and I don't know. I think that your better bet there would be Devilman, and I'm pretty sure that you would agree with me there.
I would.
But yeah, were you surprised at how the Ginyu Force performed against you?
That is a difficult question to answer. I am surprised that, how shall I put this? I'm surprised at how well Jace did against Grandpa Gohan. I mean, he just came in and he was like a bomb, and he just blew up, and poor Grandpa Gohan didn't stand a chance. But then Tao came in and managed to clean up that mess. Really, I'd say it goes back to that question that you have for me about Captain Ginyu. He was the big surprise. I mean, I never counted him out, but I didn't think Ginyu would do that much damage, especially after he did a body change when he has all those debuffs. I mean, I was really, really impressed, and I was actually yelling and screaming at my computer while I was watching the stream, you know. Get him, Goku, get him, why can't you hit him? Kill him, kill him! You know, it felt like that moment in Jurassic Park at the very beginning of the movie. Shoot her! Shoot her! I was like, why? Squeeze the trigger, Goku, and get rid of him. But, you know, again, props to 2B Wolf. For building up a team like that, for doing very well. Ginyu's even struggled in the past with experienced coaches. You know, they're a good team, but I think much like the Dragon Ball Warriors, sometimes they have so many guys who need these exact Pataras, and then it's hard to build because you have to figure out who is going to miss out on those Pataras, and then you got to figure out how to fix the guy. You know, what can I do to make Ginyu better if I'm not going to do B1s? You know, oh shoot, what could I do?
Should I try to make his self-harm worth it, or?
Yeah. It could be worth. No, I'm not gonna lie. It's not gonna be worth it. Anything that takes away your health is not going to be worth it.
I don't know. Did you have any comments?
Here is one piece of advice I would give, because it's something that I've noticed from my team. Like I said, on my team, we don't really have any max power B1s. The only one who does is Nam, and he rarely uses it. I would say, based on the success for teams like the Gohans, the Super Saiyans, teams like that, Ginyu, you guys all have a B1 that will put you in the max power mode. I'd say any chance you get to use B1s, go ahead and do it, even if it is Ginyu, because there's that chance that they'll go ahead and go max power. I mean, you saw how well it worked for Ginyu, and we know how well it can work for a guy like Jace, who just does it 3 or 4 times in a match and throws out, 6 or 7 B2s and hits with all of them. Definitely, play up an opportunity like that. And like 2B Wolf even said, I think it was in the chat, he's clearly got Ginyu where he wants. So it seems to me like the only thing he's got to do now is worry about Goldo. He gets that guy working, he's got a wonderful, fully functioning 5-man team.
All right. Well, it was good having you on, Vin.
All right. Thank you so much for having me, Ronald, and you have a great night.
You too.
Thank you.
So that was it. That was Vin. He really knows his stuff. Back to you guys.
Okay, so now we go to the questions from the Zcast viewers. Let me just go find them. Gamer Junkie 27 asks, on February the 17th, 2014.
What's that his question?
9:38 p.m. At the end of the season, if there are ties for first or last place in a division, are you going to do the same thing you did last season, with the winner of the main season match taking the better spot? If there are division matches early on in the season, those teams will most likely change a lot over the remainder of the season, and it doesn't seem right to base your results off of the first match.
It does seem right when you consider what the other options are. First of all, it's how every sports league does it, for the most part. So unless there's one out there I don't know about. But most sports that I've ever followed, they just say, hey, is there a tie? Who won in between the two teams?
Yeah.
And secondly, here's the problem. You got to look at it this way. Let's say that, let's just take 2 teams. Let's take the Valkyries and the Androids, right? Let's say the Valkyries beat the Androids once during their seasonal match, and then they have a tied record. And now you want them to fight again, which means statistically speaking, the Vals now have to win twice against one team, where the Androids only have to win once to move on. Statistically speaking, that's an unfair advantage to the Androids, who lost the first time.
Yeah. There's also what you have to consider of, in terms of fairness in another sense, that you can't, there's not an argument that's reasonable to make, because every team changes and develops over the entire season. The fact is that the team that won initially might have, learned their lessons quicker than the other team, and then you're suggesting that, in essence, they be subjected to a penalty for doing so. That doesn't really make any sense.
And another thing to look at it is when you're looking at the end of who goes to the playoffs, you're not looking at, well, who did better the last 4 weeks. You're looking at who did better for the entire season. So if a team sucked the first 3 weeks of the season and were fantastic the last 12, it doesn't matter. You can't just ignore those first 3 weeks.
No.
You can't say, well, it's a completely different team now. Well, that's fine. That's great that it's a different team now. But look at your entire season. You can't just say, well, that's those weeks. Don't worry about those weeks.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So, no, we will definitely be doing whoever won against each other.
The next question by Havoc313 on February 22nd, 2014 at 5:22 a.m. What is your favourite Ultimate B2 and B1?
Father, Son, Kamehameha.
Mm-hmm. Or
SS
Brothers
Deadly
Kamehameha.
Bomber.
I think it's about the same, really.
Yeah, but SS Deadly Bomber. And B1 probably like Gohan's Full Charge, I think. Either Gohan's Full Charge or Kaioken.
I would say Ultimate Brothers Kamehameha, because yo, Gohan. B2, I would actually say Evil Flame, because it never misses, fuck's sake.
It's missed a couple of times.
No, yeah, but in 5 seasons. B1, I don't know. Probably Makio Star. Though I'm sure I'm forgetting one.
Mine favorite Ultimate is actually Android 13's Ultimate when he's transformed, because, dear lord.
Yeah.
He throws you and then beats the crap out of you while you're still flying through the air. That's awesome. My favorite B2 is actually one that you don't see in the league anymore. It's mid-level Goku in his base form. His rush attack. Because, again, it's just so brutal. You gut punch them, and while they're still trying to recover from that, you slam them into the ground with a comment. I mean, come on, that's awesome. And then favorite B1, Turles' fruit.
Oh yeah.
It's Turles' fruit. As far as effectiveness, False Courage is actually really good. It's a lot better than a lot of people give credit for. And then, of course, not full charge, but the ones like what Saiyaman has that gives you full power but not max power, because you get that with no debuff.
Oh yeah, like Adult Gohan as well. I think he gets that too.
Yeah. So,
Yes.
yep,
Okay.
that's that.
Next question by Durangel on February 22nd, 2014, 6:08 a.m. This is one more for Rebel, since he reads all the private sections, because he's nosy. You've mentioned teams sticking to the "but it worked before" a lot, but are there any major things you think teams do that they need? Any other major things you think teams do that they need to be aware of? In that same vein, what are some of the really good things you've seen teams doing over the seasons?
Well, to answer the second question first, because I'm a contrary bastard, it's been really cool this season actually watching teams start to plan out like what they're going to do based on their opponents. Generally, that's been something that's been a pretty minor consideration over the past few seasons, but recently, certain teams started before, but recently a lot more teams have actually been taking that into quite deep consideration. And like openly saying, well, okay, what are we going to do? How are we going to do this? What do we think is going to happen? That's really cool, and it's paid dividends for a lot of teams so far. In terms of things they do that they need to be aware of, this is where I was coming into what I wanted to talk about earlier. A lot of teams look at a player's build and then add stuff to it in a very, what to me looks like a nonsensical way, but that's because I've thought about it quite a lot. When you're building a character or your team in general, a lot of teams tend to get really focused in on a particular Potara or set of Potaras, and will occasionally try and change what their player is doing, but not really change the build, if that makes any sense. So the general structure of the build will be the same. Something that the teams need to actually think about more is, how is what I'm putting on this player affecting it? How is it actually contributing to what I want my build to do? Because a lot of people say, right, this is a good Patara, this is a good Patara. You know, generally I want someone to do B2s. So here's a good B2 Patara, here's another good B2 Patara, and let's throw them all together and see what happens. Rather than sitting down and saying to themselves, okay, how does my player play out? What is it that they do when they're trying to do B2s? You know, is there a lot of sitting around and charging? Do they actually go in close and do lots of melee before they actually fire off a B2? Do they sit back somewhere and charge up before they do a B2 generally? How is it that they play out doing what I want them to do? And what are their weaknesses and strengths when they're doing that? And then obviously, you know, try and buff up your strengths, maybe minimize your weaknesses if that's something that you're really concerned about. But a lot of teams will use up 2, 3, sometimes even 4 Patara points just on some really general things that don't actually contribute very much, and leave quite a lot of space, not necessarily wasted, but not used particularly well. And I think part of that is something that a lot of teams and a lot of people doing customization do, which is say, I think this is a good idea, and they'll put down what they think is a good idea, and there's not, a lot of the time there's not a big discussion or a proper reasoning set out behind that. And for a lot of teams, that's a real problem, because you're looking at your Pataras and going, well, this is a good build, this is a good build, you know, what do we do? Without thinking about the reasons and what the effects are of the Pataras you're using. And I think that's, I don't know, I think a lot of teams mistake, sorry, I'm trying to think how to phrase this properly.
I think a good way to say it is that a lot of teams look at the Pataras as individuals and not as an entire build.
Yeah, that. And
you need to keep in mind that it's not just what each individual Patara does, but how do they work together in concert. And also, to add on to that, I was also going to say one thing I see a lot of teams that still aren't quite doing properly is the mentality.
Mm-hmm.
There's still too many teams that think the AI is there to complement the build. And it is the absolute opposite. The build should complement the AI. I see so many teams, and I think my team's even guilty of this from time to time. We will change the AI and not mess with the build at all.
Yeah.
And we'll look at it this like, here's the build we want. Let's find an AI to match it. And I've even told teams to try this, but this is generally not how you want to finish it. What you want to do is you want to find an AI and then find a build to match that, not the other way around, unless you're really specifically going for something. And even then, you got to be careful, because, let me put it this way, it is easier and you will generally get better results if you try and match a build to the AI instead of the other way around. Yeah. And you really have to look at it as the AI is your foundation. It is your cornerstone. It is what everything else should be built off of, not the other way around.
Yeah, what he said.
Mm-hmm. What he said too. I don't really have anything to say to that, because I'm not given permission to look at people's forums.
No, you've refused permission.
Yeah, you keep refusing it. Don't act like we're not giving it to you. You're like, I don't want it.
Next question.
I don't want my precious portal to be cluttered out.
Shut up. Portal is the best thing on the website.
It's really useful. I agree.
It is the useful way to do it.
I don't know what a portal is.
Click on,
what?
you know at the top where like members search, FAQ, chat, and streaming is.
Yeah.
Click on portal.
Okay.
Look on the left-hand side where it says latest posts.
That's just the latest post that everyone's done.
Oh.
And if
It's
you get admin
amazing.
permission and you can see everything, it gets really fucking cluttered.
Oh, yeah, it does.
Yeah.
I've never known about this. This is cool.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
That's
For me,
like,
it's amazing.
it's awesome, because when you get like a flurry of activity in, say, like team customization, and there's posts from the Valkyries, the Earth Defenders, the Blades, the Super Saiyans, absolutely everybody, and it's like, okay, well, I click on, I could go from the homepage and have a look through there, then I miss like 5 people. I can go through this specific one, just through the portal, and I'll see pretty much everything. Be nice if it was bigger and there were more posts in there, but whatever.
Right.
You know, there's a limit to how useful that is to me, but you know, it's vague.
Enough praising the portal, though. We can't really do that enough.
Yes, what's the next question? Oh.
It is by To Be Wolf, February 22nd, 2004. A lot of February 22nds. This is very weird. At 8:30 a.m. Did you expect North and East Kai to be how they are now? Is basically what the question's asking.
I learned after last season not to expect much from any division.
Is that pretty much how you answered the question last week?
Yeah, well, it's related to
I think that's how you answered Burner Races one last week, actually.
I think so. I pretty much, I mean, you immediately you look at North Kai and you expect them to be the best. You look at East Kai, you expect them to be second best. West Kai and South Kai to be the last place. You know, that's like the general rule of thumb when you first glance at them. But I've learned by now that that's not the case, and that I shouldn't assume that. And so I just kind of like next season, if you say, you know, who do you think's gonna, I'm just gonna be like, screw it, I don't. Yeah.
I mean, it's almost more likely that North Kai is going to be the worst than the other way round.
Well, evidence would say.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, I mean, expectations-wise, I'm not surprised by it, but on the other hand, I wouldn't have predicted it. So,
yeah,
you know, I'm mostly neutral about the whole thing.
Wow, makes a change.
I'm neutral generally about quite a lot of things.
Very calm.
I just like to spout opinions.
Yeah,
Because it annoys people.
Like a volcano spouts.
Yeah, it does tend to burn people quite a lot. Yeah, you're right.
Wow. The next question, by Viper Kang, 58 minutes ago. It's not even a date on this one. It was so soon. It's amazing. I'm
Almost like
struggling
someone tipped him off.
with a slight conundrum. On the one hand, Garlic Jr. seems to do damn good in small form, then just bombs once he transforms. On the other hand, he gets health when he transforms, and his transformation stays true to being a member of Team Muscle. So I was wondering if I could get some Zcast advice. Would it break the spirit of the... I knew you were going to say that. Would it break the spirit of the team and be a bad idea to put Brody's ring on Garlic to ensure he can't transform?
Bad idea, no. Break spirit of the team, absolutely. I don't know what Rebel's talking about. It's Team Muscle. You're going to ensure that he never turns into Team Muscle?
I just said he can't get some Zcast advice.
Oh, I thought you were saying no, it wouldn't be a bad idea or break the spirit of the team.
No, I was just
bad
saying
idea.
Give him any advice.
I mean, yeah, bad idea? No, absolutely not. It's a great idea. Will it break the spirit of your team and thus don't do it? Yes.
Hint, hint. Don't do it.
So, I mean, it's basically just one of the limitations of your team that you have to work around. Like, androids can't charge, you know?
Mm-hmm.
You just will have to work the best you can with it because you can't break the spirit of your team. Otherwise, you'd have Zarbon.
Otherwise, we break you.
No, that's my threat. Fuck you, okay?
Damn it. The final question by Scuzzy B, 35 minutes ago.
44 now.
35 on mine. Clearly, it's the time difference between here and where you're.
Now.
Mine says 24.
Mine says 46 now. I just realized.
How about we just don't talk about this? Do you think you will change the structure of the league in the future? For example, doubling the league to 30 weeks so each team faces each other home and away, or changing the playoffs to double elimination, like how it's done for Naruto League.
By the way, I can tell you that Naruto League threw that out the window because it's way too complicated.
Nonsense. StarCraft 2 does it all the time. Double elimination's awesome.
No, it's changed the structure of the league. First of all, who can say? Rebel and I were just talking, and I suppose HJK was there too.
Yeah,
we were just.
I was about to say.
He wasn't actually saying anything.
No, we were just talking before the Zcast that it is always a fear that we'll hit season 8 and everyone will start to feel it's same old, and when that comes, we'll have to consider ways of keeping the league fresh. But it's not like we have a 5-year plan that we're implementing or anything like that.
I don't know about you, but I do. And what the fuck?
Mine's 15.
Well,
But
that's
the
just
thing
stupid.
is,
That's just completely inflexible, HTK.
the truth of the matter is the structure of the league works the way it is, and people really enjoy it the way it is. So there's no reason to change it now. As far as like 30 weeks, good lord, man, you trying to kill me?
Yeah.
You realize that I have to do this, right? No, honestly, 30 weeks, not only would it probably break my fragile psyche, because 15 weeks is more than
Wait,
enough.
I thought I'd already broken that.
But the thing is, if you add too many weeks, you start to get into the same problem that I feel like baseball has, which is each match doesn't really matter because you've got 30 flippin' matches. So in other words, here's the thing. I don't like sports that have huge numbers of matches every season because of this. In Dragon Ball Z League, there are 15 matches, and every single match counts. Every single match could be the difference between making it or not. If you have 30 matches, each of those matches just mean less now. There's less hype, there's less excitement for each match because, so what if you lose it? You got 29 more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I don't like having too many games in a season because I enjoy every match having a big role to play. And as far as the double elimination, we did it with Naruto League, but it was very convoluted. It was really hard to keep track of what was going on.
Double elimination is not the simplest thing to keep track of. And it's also not the simplest thing to play out.
And plus, not to mention, you also get the people who are upset, because we did get those people who were upset that was like, but this team already lost. Why are we fighting them again? Like, because that's the thing. With double elimination, you have the chance, and it's kind of like what I was just saying with the tiebreakers. With double elimination, there's a chance that my team faces Rebel's team, and my team loses. So Rebel won. And then I go to the loser's bracket, and I work all my way up, and then I face Rebel again, even though he's already beat me once, and now he has to beat me again.
I mean, I'll do it. Don't get me wrong. It won't be difficult, but for fuck's sake,
but again, statistically speaking, he's at the disadvantage.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's a lot of issues with double elimination, and we will not be doing them for this league or the Naruto League, period.
I mean, double elimination in something like StarCraft 2 is awesome. Because you play StarCraft 2 and it is in you watch those tournaments and they're in a format where every game is at the very least or generally a best of 3. Yeah. So as long as you're in a tournament format, you're in a best of 3. It's really fun to watch. And whoever ends up, if you face someone again, you'll end up having to beat them more times than they beat you to get in anyway. So that's actually a lot fairer, or still as fair. You know, you'll have won more games than they will generally, or it'll be even, one or the other.
And despite that, something with StarCraft where it is absolutely 100% down to player skill, as opposed to having an RNG god, where we do, it opens doors for mischief, because it's like, okay, in StarCraft double elimination, look, I beat you once because I was a better player.
Yeah,
we face again if you right, exactly. I mean, I was better. I performed better, basically. If you beat me again, maybe you perform better. But in Dragon Ball Z League, the argument could be made, well, I beat them once, and then I got screwed by the random number gods, you know? Yeah. So it's just the headache that I would receive if such an event were to occur. No. But as far as the league changing overall, you know, I'll even say this. We're always open to ideas. You are always, all of you are always welcome to throw ideas. And I have people that do it from time to time that say, hey, what about this and what about that? And a lot of times, and I will tell you this, if I tell you no, I will tell you why. So, and you know, it's not like we've never taken advice into account and actually implemented it. So,
that's
well,
that's
I haven't. I don't know what you're talking about.
If you said something to Rebel, you'll just get a response saying no.
No. If you say something to me, I'll think about it.
And then say no.
Yeah, even if I agree with you, I'll tell you no.
Keep in mind, this is the guy encouraging you to send him builds for advice.
No.
This sucks. That sucks.
This is terrible. What the fuck are you doing? It's not how it happens.
So,
and you know, the coaches that have received assistance know that's the case. So.
And no, there will not be a Team Vegeta.
What? No, come on, Squee. We talked about this. Popular demand says you have to do it.
And you know what? I could even do, because this would kill this argument. There's always people that are like, we should make new teams. I could tell you what, after the end of every season, I could put up a poll, should we make new teams? And then when everyone votes hell no, that argument will take care of itself.
You should just record it, have it stay on the webpage and refresh every few minutes as a whole video for TGN.
No, as like a 24/7 live stream.
No
Just got this
commentary.
automated thing that automatically refreshes every tick.
Yeah, just look at all the people that are clicking no.
Look how right I am. Okay. Before we go on to our predictions, and probably me shamelessly plugging a certain fantasy league team, we'll quickly hop on over to RonaldTheKing, who will give his controversial prediction of the week.
Alright, so I was wrong in last week's prediction. The androids, contrary to my prediction, got destroyed by the Valkyries. I'm not too surprised because the Vals are what I would classify as a powerhouse team. But nonetheless, I have a new prediction for you in this week. This one may seem a little bit more far-fetched than the last one, but you should hear me out anyways. I believe that the Boos will defeat Team Muscle, even though the Boos are 3-5 and Team Muscle is 5-3. I believe that Team Muscle hasn't been tested in the same way that the Boos have been tested. The Boos have had an extremely tough schedule up until now. They have lost to the Valkyries, who are 5-3, the Rugrats, whom are 5-3, the Super Saiyans, whom are 7-1, the Dragon Ball Warriors, whom are 5-3, and the Saiyans, whom are 3-5. If you look at the teams that Muscle have lost against, they are the Gohans, who are 3-5, Derp, who are 2-6, and the Ginyu Force, who are 3-5. This is interesting too, because if you take all of the wins and all of the losses that all of the teams that both teams have faced up until now, if you take both of those respectively for each team, the teams that Team Boo have played against have around a 53% win percentage. The teams that Team Muscle have faced have had around a 39% win percentage. I think that the 14% difference here supports my conclusion that the Boos have a great chance of winning next week. Back to you guys.
Right, I do want to, before we go on to the predictions for next week, I want to just do a quick Fantasy League plug, because it is now significant, because my team is winning. DBZ League Fantasy League champions, still doing strong, moved up to 3rd, sharing position.
Alright,
at 97
now
points.
on to the predictions for
That's
next
sorry,
week's
no.
matches.
I'd like to plug my new shoe line. It's Air Squeeze.
No. Only I'm allowed to shoehorn in things.
Made out of 100% children's tears.
Oh God.
Like
Like
Ziploc
by
bags of
me.
children's tears that you tape to your feet.
Oh god.
What a
That's
lovely
actually a really
image.
good plan.
And we got the tears by forcing them to watch the Super Saiyan.
Oh!
That's just harsh.
We didn't have enough bags.
I was going to say they're all Team Cold fans, but whatever.
There's so many ways you can
I'm
go
not even
with
going to respond to that.
You ever see someone die from dehydration from crying so much?
Predictions for next week.
Predictions. I think people will win.
I
Now,
actually
why are
don't
you
think
two
there will
so stop sabotaging it?
I don't think there are going to be any victories next week. No one will be successful.
Namek versus Margins.
HJK, I am not sabotaging you.
I swear to Christ. I'm gonna add like gun like reloading effects to
And you know what? That will just show how ineffectual you really are.
take me away from the sordid existence. Anyway,
worry,
Namek
we
versus Margins.
Derp.
Ooh. Derp. Derp's gonna bust in there and interfere and we didn't lose last week, bitches.
I'm
Wouldn't
sorry.
that be funny if Dragon Ball Z League was like WWE and you have like interferences? And
That'd be so cool. That'd be brilliant.
What
And
is
then,
Goku
then they
doing
start
here?
hitting the commentators over the head with a steel plate.
Oh man.
I think Namek.
Margins.
Ah. I think Namek.
Next match, Dirt versus Valkyries.
I think Valkyries.
Yeah, I want Dirt
Yeah.
to do so well, but Valkyries.
I'll say Valkyries too. Muscle versus Boo.
I want Boo to win.
Ooh.
Come on,
that's,
Boo.
I'm gonna say Muscle.
I'm gonna hope Muscle.
That was such a depressed thing to
That's
say.
not really the same thing as it is, JK. That's not predicting. That's
It's good
hoping.
enough. It's good enough for me. Earth Defenders versus Rugrats.
I'm gonna go with my team, but it's not going to be an easy fight. Rugrats have proven beyond a shadow of a doubt they are a serious opponent.
I'm gonna say Rugrats. You better win and keep up my powers.
Yeah, except for you didn't predict last week.
Yeah, I did. Yeah,
No,
I
you
did.
didn't.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Rebel.
Hello, HK.
I am.
He already
I am
gave his
gonna sit
prediction.
here and wait for your
He already
prediction.
gave it.
Yeah.
What was it?
He predicted
Myself.
the Rugrats.
All right. Fair enough. Next match.
Rebel's gonna interfere.
Yeah.
You're just gonna see him green screened into the match.
Super Saiyans versus Gohans.
I just had this image of
Saiyans.
like Rebel doing like, come on.
You hear it in the background, and the camera will turn, and you'll just see him.
No. Oh, what actually happens is I just flip the teams off and they die. It's like, no,
Wow.
stop it.
You've been turning my computer off, haven't you? You son of a.
I don't know what you're talking about. There's nothing to do with me whatsoever.
Hey, who's next?
Super Saiyans versus Gohans. Rebel said Super Saiyans.
Super Saiyans.
Super Saiyans.
So if
Maybe.
you just go
I'm not
on.
entirely confident, but whatever. Next match, Dragon Ball Warriors versus Blades.
Blades.
Ooh, that'll be a good one.
That will be a good one.
I think Blades. Cyborg Tao is going to be back in. So, I think Blades.
I will say Dragon Ball Warriors.
Unless they flip and tag out 11 times again. Good lord.
Yeah, exactly. It's tactics. Next match, Saiyans versus Androids.
I think androids.
Same here. I think androids.
Yeah, Androids. And now the match of the week.
Oh, Jesus.
Cold versus Ginyu Force.
Fucking hell.
Crap.
That's
why
actually
am
really
I not
difficult.
choosing? Yeah, why am I not choosing cold? Why? Why has this match come up? And I've said, I'm thinking Ginyu Force.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking exactly the same thing.
Yeah, Ginyu Force.
No, Guinea. Oh, shit. Guinea Force.
It's like my world is breaking.
I will say Ginyu as well, because they've got Rakumin, which puts them above.
Wait, alright, cold then.
Puts them at an shut up. Puts them at an advantage over the former finalists of the league.
That is going
oh
to be
dear.
interesting.
Anyway, on that note, that's it. We've barely made it through. Me with my sanity. But you shall see us again next week after week 9's matches, which will be streamed. Twitch.tv.
They can see me.
Twitch.
So, like, looking around.
I swear to God, I will cut you out of the recording while I'm talking.
I'm like looking around my room.
Twitch.
No, I
I'm
can't
not
see
wearing
that
pants
webcam.
right now.
Twitch.tv/TGN on Sunday at 4 p.m. Central Time.
You
I'm
like
sorry.
my Ninja Turtle boxers?
It's from us.
Do you,
I'm
Internet?
sorry, going to be having
I didn't hear where the stream would be when you tell me.
So,
Again, we just
see you
beat that.
again. See you next week, guys. Say goodbye. Rebel and
Bye,
Squee.
everyone.
Bye, Rebel and Squee.
Bye, Rebel and Squee.